How's it going, everyone? We've got to go over a few encouraging updates for Palworld. Obviously, you guys know everything that's going on with Palworld and Nintendo, but at least some positive signs as far as the PS5 release of Palworld. On top of that, I do want to quickly highlight the note that I find more interesting than anything as far as the future of Palworld, and that is the fact that Krafton, yes, the same studio that saved Hi-Fi Rush, I should say the publisher that saved Hi-Fi Rush, now they have a licensing agreement with Palworld developer Pocket Pair to create a mobile title for Palworld. We'll talk that. And lastly, I do want to talk about a very interesting report from Bloomberg, and that is the potential of a buyout of Ubisoft. We'll talk that at the end of this video. But right off the top, the PlayStation 5 release of Palworld happened a little over a week ago. However, there was one element of it all that was a little bit concerning, and that was the lack of a Palworld PlayStation 5 release in Japan. It was available in 68 countries, however, it was not available in Japan, which obviously raised a lot of concern over, you know, the ongoing lawsuit with Nintendo and Pocket Pair, and if that was the reason that Palworld wasn't released in Japan. And I would venture to guess, I would have to think that that was the reason the game wasn't released in Japan right away. It does seem like Pocket Pair has gotten the green light to release the game in Japan, and all systems are go as far as that's concerned. I do wish we had a level of transparency which would give us a little bit of an insight as the reasoning of this. However, I do also understand as far as legal situations go, it's probably a little bit best to not be as transparent, given that anything you say in public can be used against you, so I could definitely understand why Pocket Pair is keeping a lot of cards close to the vest right now. So it is what it is. At the very least, it's available in Japan, which this is enormous for Palworld as a brand to continue growing. Palworld was immensely successful when it initially dropped in January. Over 2 million concurrent players on PC and Steam. However, I've always said, and I do still believe, that the PC audience and the console audience are two distinct audiences. Is there a little bit of an overlap, and are there people on console also playing on PC? Sure, and especially for big games that are going to draw people in, they'll make the jump to one platform versus the other. I think it's a little bit more rare for people to jump on over from PlayStation to PC because high-end PCs are expensive, but you get the idea. In the case of Palworld, however, it was only released on PC and Xbox, and so while it did have a console release, you guys know the status of Xbox right now. Even over here in the West, Xbox isn't in an ideal situation, and I get it that the console version of Palworld wasn't comparable to the PC version and wasn't at the level. However, there's still a significant console audience that would want to check out the game. But then you also think about the fact that this game wasn't released on PlayStation 5 in Japan, and the only way to play the game on a console in Japan was on Xbox, and Xbox is virtually dead in Japan. That's a very big issue. Now that the floodgates have been opened for Palworld to be available on PlayStation 5, on top of that, it's available on PlayStation 5 in Japan. This is a huge step for the IP to grow, so great job as far as that's concerned, and thankfully, this is also going to be a pretty positive sign, all things considered, for the future of Palworld, given that they were able to get this game out in Japan. Even more, I feel, of a good sign for Palworld in the future is the fact that Krafton has signed on to develop a Palworld mobile game. This is huge in the sense that if I was Krafton and, you know, how I would comprehend the gaming landscape, after a lawsuit like this is filed and Pocket Pair is in some legal situation with Nintendo, you would think that Krafton, at least I would think that Krafton would want to step to the side and be like, let's wait and see, let's have this play out, and then we'll decide. But no, they're still going ahead with this licensing agreement with Palworld and developer Pocket Pair to expand the Palworld intellectual property onto mobile devices, which I think, even though I personally don't give a damn about mobile gaming, I know that as a brand and as an IP for Palworld to continue growing, this is absolutely massive. Just having a listing on the App Store and having Palworld promoted on mobile platforms is enormous because, again, with an IP like this, it's all about exposing it to new audiences. You've exposed it to the gaming audience, and everybody that, you know, is on social media, they're well aware of Palworld. However, there's another audience of people that now the game is accessible on console, and there would be an even bigger amount of people that the game would be accessible to if it released on mobile. Even though I don't care for mobile gaming, anybody would be foolish to not understand that mobile gaming is enormous, especially with a game like Palworld, which does have a lot of casual appeal. I mean, you look at the number that it reached on Steam. If it didn't have casual appeal, it wouldn't reach north of 2 million players. That casual appeal would absolutely translate on a mobile platform. So, you know, obviously you gotta get Palworld out in a compelling state, and however that transition to a mobile platform, it's gotta obviously get some tweaks implemented to have it working on a mobile platform, and but as long as they do a good job with it, it would be huge. And I understand that Krafton has a ton of money. They have a lot of money at their disposal. However, it's not just finance, it's just the idea of being involved in a legal situation against Nintendo, even as an accessory component, just being involved with Pocket Pair while they're in the midst of this. Krafton seemingly has a lot of confidence if that is the case. Krafton obviously recently also saved Hi-Fi Rush and also acquired Tango Gameworks, so Krafton very much in my good graces these days. They're doing a lot of great stuff, so they are continuing to grow, and obviously they are the PUBG studio, and they are involved with that, so they have a lot of resources at their disposal, but still, being involved in this now of all times is very interesting. And I understand that also these discussions with Krafton and Pocket Pair probably existed well before the Nintendo lawsuit was filed, but you could obviously push back on it or not move forward with it, or at least just put a pause on it. There would be no reason Krafton wouldn't be able to do that, but they are deciding to move forward with it, which I do think is a very, very encouraging sign. Lastly, find this to be incredibly interesting information. Ubisoft's founding Guillemot family, which has 14% stake in the company, and Tencent, which has a 9.99% stake, have reportedly been speaking with advisors to explore ways to stabilize Ubisoft and bolster its value after losing more than half of its market value in 2024, according to a Bloomberg report, citing people familiar with the matter, with one of the possibilities being a collaborative buyout to take the company private. Some minority shareholders, such as AJ Invest, have recently pushed for Ubisoft to privatize or sell the company. I actually think Ubisoft selling the company and doing a restructuring of the Ubisoft brand, and this includes things like top to bottom, new people involved with Ubisoft, changing the Ubisoft logo. All of these things being implemented, I think, would be incredibly advantageous for Ubisoft, because right now, I really believe that Ubisoft's main issue is from a perception standpoint, and it takes a long time to shift perception. You gotta put out multiple games, but also doing things like a restructuring top to bottom, selling the company, changing the logo, simple things like this. Obviously, selling the company isn't simple, but changing the logo, you really need to exemplify that you are a new Ubisoft. And I think the idea of what they're doing with Shadows, no season pass, the expansion, the first expansion is free for everybody that pre-orders. It's available on Steam. These are steps in the right direction. It's gonna take a lot more, and rebuilding the consumer goodwill, the consumer trust, it's gonna take a lot. And there are things like this that you could do, which hopefully will improve it. Now, Tencent being involved, like, Tencent isn't necessarily in the good graces, but I'm just saying from a public perception standpoint, a restructuring of Ubisoft and just completely changing it top to bottom, because they've done a lot of damage over the last 5 years. It's not like this damage was done overnight. This damage has been done for years and years and years, and it's gonna take a Herculean effort for them to rebuild their image. It's not like BioWare, where BioWare is this isolated developer that's had a couple crappy outings. If they drop one good game, I really believe people will be like, oh my god, BioWare is back. With Ubisoft, they're a conglomerate. They're a publisher that has been crapping on the consumer year after year, and it's gonna take a Herculean effort for them to rebuild their image. Is it possible? Absolutely. It's just gonna take time, and efforts like a restructuring, on top of, more than anything, releasing good games and being a little bit more consumer friendly, I think would go a long way. But that's gonna do it for me. Again, Palworld for PlayStation 5 gets a big update as it's now available in Japan. Good sign for the future of the game. Krafton developing a Palworld mobile game, and the Ubisoft story is incredibly fascinating. Just going to be interesting to follow them for the next year, 16 months. And the thing is, remember, they've already got irons in the fire. There's a lot of games in development that you can't restructure those games overnight. They're going to do what they can with Shadows, and I think what they're doing is very positive in terms of releasing the game on Steam, expansion free, season pass is gone. Those are a lot of good things, but it's going to take a lot of time for them to rebuild their public image and rebuild trust with the consumer, because they've broken it for year after year after year and destroyed their goodwill. It's going to take time for them to rebuild it, and they're going to have to do quite a lot. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.